Alright, brother, it's been a long day. I got the verses down, got the lyrics. I need you to give me a chorus, man.
You want me to sing the chorus?
I need you to give me a fat chorus, man.
I got you, man. I'll do it.
Hey, bring the funk, you know?
I'll bring the funk to the people. They need to hear this.
Let's get it, they need it.
Alright, let's do it.
Yeah.
We've all been there before. Stress has got us frozen to the core.
That's right.
Got something that you gotta see.
What's that?
Come on and have a drink with me. We've all been there before. Stress has got us frozen to the core.
That's right.
Got something that you gotta see. Come on and have a drink with me.
Sun's out, guns out, we bring the funds out. You got some coke in that cooler? Bring the rums out. Mix it up a bit with a lemon slice. Stress is out the window, I'm feeling pretty nice. Like this block of ice, I'm trying to chill. I got a quality cup, so this drink won't spill. Take a walk with me, please tell me that you will. Master Mixologist here, he mixes up with skill. You know I got the bill, kick back and relax. Open up the window while we lay some tracks. Feel the breeze, I feel at ease, and I appreciate no drama, if you please. If you care, you leave that over there. I saw you stressing so hard, but in fact you shouldn't care. Don't bring no fight, leave that out of sight. Like J.J. Evans blowing up dynamite.
We've all been there before. Stress has got us frozen to the core. Got something that you gotta see. Come on and have a drink with me. We've all been there before. Stress has got us frozen to the core. Got something that you gotta see. Come on and have a drink with me.
Hey yo, people run their mouth, speaking blindly with opinions. Slaves to the system, comparing them to minions.
You don't hear no
No,
background
we're good.
sounds?
We're live. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Rapping with Rapscallions. Very special guest today, Robby Martin from Intimo Restaurant. You can see his handles up here. And the name of the restaurant down there. Right over to my side is the one and only Jose Mesquita. Joe, take it away, brother.
What's up, everyone? Good afternoon. Good Sunday afternoon. NBA semifinals happening as we speak. Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, Game 4, Eastern semifinals. I'm following it, so I will let you know what happens. But you know what's more important than that? Robby with a Y. Robby Martin. He's here. You know the Marvel Universe. They have a Sorcerer Supreme. They have a Scientist Supreme. Well, Robby is a Mixologist Supreme, man. And I'm very happy. He's very happy that he's here with us, Robby. How's it going?
I'm good, guys. Greatest intro I've ever heard for myself, Joe. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're
Joe is good. He's amazing at everything. I tell you what. Everything he does is good.
Man, I need to hire him, man. Every time we open up the restaurant for reservations, have Joe just give
He'll be rapping. He'll be your
Like,
hype
yeah.
man. You'll come in with the hood on like Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Wa-da-da-da-da-da.
spinning shakers on my hand and my
Yeah,
elbows.
man. That's the way you got to do it. So,
Nah, guys, super happy to be here with you guys. Thank you for the invitation. Super excited. Not excited for the Heat doing well at all.
all right, man.
looks like Robby's froze a little bit. He's so cool that he froze up, man. But that's okay. I've been preparing for today's show. I've got an assortment of drink here, and I made some lights and everything. That's how high tech we are. So, before we started the show, Robby gave us some recipes to do some simple syrups. So I made a melange. Robby, I hope you're impressed with everything I've done here. I made a simple syrup with cocoa powder. I made one with tamarind paste, tamarindo.
Nice.
And then I've got a regular old simple syrup in a reuse recycle yogurt canister.
Nice.
And then an assortment of drink here behind me. Robby recommended that we go. What were the two recommendations that you sent us, Robby? So they're classic.
With a simple, one was an old fashioned. Old fashioned classically is either rye or bourbon, orange peel with some bitters and sugar. We take it a step ahead and we turn the sugar into a syrup so it's more soluble and you can make it on the whim. And then the other one was a classic daiquiri. Daiquiri is lemon juice, simple syrup, and rum. And then the simple syrup, you can flavor it, turn it into whatever you want, pretty much. You can make saril or the Jamaica flower, with whatever you want to call it. Or you could take tamarind. You can take pretty much any flavor you want to make out of the syrup. So you can make a daiquiri based on that, strawberry daiquiris, etc.
Well, can you? I think there's a common misconception with the modern daiquiri and a classic daiquiri. Can you enlighten the crowd about that?
The daiquiri during the 50s was marketed. It took a whole different turn in history. Classic daiquiri is lemon juice, simple syrup, rum, pretty much. Cuban style rum, Bacardi, etc. Nowadays you can use any type of rum that you like. If you do it with Abuelo Siete here in Panama, it's what I found to be one of my favorites. But during the 50s, with the whole revolution with frozen products, etc., frozen strawberries, frozen blueberries, etc., people started throwing them in a blender, blending it down, and a lot of people think that daiquiris are frozen, but originally they're just ice, lemon juice, simple syrup, rum, shake it, and pour it over a martini glass or over the rocks or a coupe glass per se. But it's the frozen is something that became very popular in cruises, at home, and all-inclusive hotels, and that's pretty much what a daiquiri should be. It's just simple. It's called the Holy Trinity also because it's a basic cocktail that teaches citric, teaches sweetness, and the base, which gives a little more bitterness and flavor. So, but that's actually what it's called, the Holy Trinity between bartenders.
That's a good because, you know, I love my rum, and I was actually a little snooty. I was like, a daiquiri? Are you kidding me? But then as I started exploring rum and different ways of mixing it, I found my way back to the classic daiquiri, and it's outstanding.
Yeah, exactly. It's an amazing drink. When you do it right, it's really good, really well balanced. And every time you use a different rum, you find different hints and different flavors. Your palate starts getting accustomed to it, and every time you use a different rum, you find different notes to it, connotation. It's a really interesting cocktail.
All right. On that note,
very cool.
I'm making myself a classic
What's happening?
rum daiquiri, but with tamarind simple syrup. There we go. So now I think we're ready to get started. Joe, tell us what you got, man. What do you got, Joe?
Well, I did mine with some saril. So mine includes everything that you just mentioned.
Yum, yum, yum.
But saril as well.
Nice.
Because I have the saril in my refrigerator.
This is really good.
Now,
Cheers.
Joe, are you guys okay with the whole concept of using a martini glass? How do you guys feel when you guys get a cocktail in a martini glass or a coupe glass?
I think the older I get, the less I care what the vehicle is, as long as the comestible is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as long as the liquid gives you courage. It's crazy because when I got to Panama and we started doing daiquiris or Manhattans and martini glasses, a lot of people would be like, "Nah, serve it back on the rocks or whatnot." And then the beauty of these cocktails is that the reason you don't use ice in certain aspects, it doesn't really matter, but in places where there's a winter or colder climates, obviously you can sip on a drink and it's not going to warm down. Because a lot of people ask that question, well, why is it okay if I put in a rocks glass with ice? And it's actually perfect because we live in a humid, hot weathered country. So I always answer that because a lot of people ask me that question, and especially at the restaurant, like, hey, why are you giving it to me in a coupe glass? I mean, usually AC is up to 18 or whatnot, so it's not like it's going to melt down or anything like that. It's going to keep its temperature.
Like when you put ice in your Bloody Mary, it's like, what? Don't do that, you know? Because it just waters down the flavor.
Hey, listen, I think you need to trust the person that's serving you a drink. And I guess if Robby's serving me a drink and it's in a martini glass, I know there's a reason for that. So I'm not gonna argue it. I'm not gonna be like, hey man, pour it in a, what are these glasses that become super popular now? The mason jar. Pour it in a mason jar.
I knew someone was gonna talk about that. All right, so we've got our drinks on. let's get to the show. Let's get to the meat. Let's get to the carne. Robby Martin, you know, where are you from? How did you get, what did you start off doing, and how did you end up being a master mixologist?
Okay, so I was born in Concord, Massachusetts, raised in Panama for about 10 years before I moved back to the States, and lived there for another 8 years. While living in New York, I went to study naval architecture. And while studying naval architecture, New York City is a super, super expensive city. So I had a partial scholarship or whatnot, but you still had other things if you wanted to buy, go to a restaurant, buy clothes, etc. So I started working in restaurants parallel to that and hustling my way through that. And that's kind of where I got my first dose of the restaurant industry. Then there was a point where I took a 2-year break from school, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So then I got more involved into the restaurant where I was working. The restaurant turned into a big hobby of mine. Like, I would go to different cocktail bars, different restaurants that were doing amazing things, and I fell in love with it. And then after that, I switched over to I started international business and economics, moved back to Panama, opened up Intimo with Chef Chombolin, and we've had the project now for 5 years. We've done a little consulting here and there. I've been the brand ambassador for Ron Abuelo in Latin America, and that's pretty much it. And I've done a little bit here and there, consulting with restaurants, for bars, wine programs, food as well with Chombolin. So yeah,
That sounds
a little
cool.
bit of everything.
Hey, you know, I want to take a few steps back. What is naval architecture?
So naval architecture, back in the day, I love the idea of studying architecture, but the idea of designing boats, ships, ports, docks, I got into it because I liked the idea of designing yachts. The school I was attending back then, SUNY Maritime, they got very militarized while I was there. So they were doing more Navy ships, they were doing military ports, etc. And I kind of like, you know what, I think I'm gonna take a time out for a second because there was other schools I could go to. But then I fell in love with the restaurant industry, and then and in Panama, there's only one position in the whole Panama Canal, and the guy's been there for like 30 years. So, and he's still young, so I don't think I'm going anywhere with that one. So, and that was the idea, was coming back and trying to work for the Panama Canal.
So you jumped ship, and you went into the mixology career. This drink is really good, let me tell you what.
Oh, snap, dude. Bro, that's a massive change, man, to like want to do that, Navy architecture, and all of a sudden be like, doing all this, and I'm going to dedicate my life to, like, mixing drinks and making that happen. Was it a difficult decision to make? Or
not really. I mean, I think I had really good mentors around me at the time, and my parents were really good mentors, and pretty much the idea has always been, at least in my family, that if you go 100% into something, you should things will go well. And there's going to be ups and downs. There have been ups and downs, and I think there's ups and downs in everybody's career. And if everyone's really evolving in what they do, there's always going to be times where you hit the ground or whatnot. So in my house, it was always like, things are going to be okay. If you do, it might be slow in the beginning or whatnot, but have a plan, have an idea. And that's what it's been throughout the last 15 years now of the restaurant industry.
Are you formally trained, or are you just trained on the spot?
I trained on the spot. I had like the first restaurant where I started doing mixology. There was a guy there that was Jim Chiachi was his name, and he's still until this day one of my mentors. And he was huge into classic cocktails, and I'm talking about 2007, 2008. And I had no idea, talking about cocktails like the Scofflaw and Old Fashions and a classic well-made Manhattan and so forth, and just a whole world. And I really got into it. It was amazing, and we used fresh produce. And it was right at the beginning of that whole movement where people were going back to making their own simple syrups, making their own garnishes, and once you get into it, you start creating stuff. And I think that's the aspect of it that I loved, was being able to create something out of zero, trying to make variations of stuff also.
Very cool.
And so forth.
Very cool.
Yeah, excellent, dude. And then, well, just following up on that, Robby, then talk to us a little bit about Intimo, because you and Trombolin came up with this concept, right? And you guys, you worked on it, you put it together. You guys are very successful, very well respected, both of you guys. But how easy was it? How did the idea come about? Were you guys just hanging out one day and or was the process much larger than that?
Well, ideas cross. So I saw Carlos. I didn't know Carlos was working in the restaurant industry. On a visit down to Panama for the summer, I think it was. I meet up. I see Carlos Trombolin at a bar that was back in the day, right in La Entrada de Calle 50, and he's in a whole chef outfit, and he was working at Maito when Maito had just started. It's like 2010, and we started talking about it, and then we got into touch and talking about what was missing, what we thought was missing in the spectrum of things in Panama, in the restaurant industry. And we were really big into the whole idea, like, you know what, we should try getting more into pushing the whole idea of using local produce, creating cocktails with local produce, giving a little more love to what's made locally. And I mean, nowadays there's like 20 restaurants that do that, but in the beginning it was Maito, then Donde Jose as well was another restaurant, and very few restaurants that were really looking into that. And then we worked from there. We just worked from there. We did a tasting menu. I think there was only one place besides us doing tasting menus at the time, Donde Jose. And that gave us a little bit of courage also, because he did really well with the tasting menu. And but we decided we were going to do 2 menus, which for the chef was, I mean, all my respect in the world, because it's rare to find a restaurant that does a tasting menu and an a la carte menu. Because if everybody's doing tasting menus, you work one shift, everybody's on the same line. If you're working with a tasting menu and an a la carte menu, it's insane. The table comes in, asks for whatever he's going to ask for off the menu, and at the same time, you might have 2 or 3 other people doing tasting menus with 15 dishes per person. So it's insane to do it. And a lot of people were like, guys, it's going to be tough. I wouldn't go down that route. And the more people told us it was going to be hard or impossible, the more we got into it and the more we pushed into it. So, and we've always been part of the whole idea that trying to do that's harder is always
to challenge yourself, and you'll find magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And not like a stubborn bull either, but more like if there's a thought process behind it, yeah, it's going to be hard, but when you get into the stuff like that and you really push yourself towards it, there's only.
You mentioned a lot of big names in the Panama restaurant scene. To the common layman like me, you always see like Anthony Bourdain and all the chefs hanging out after hours. Is there any some of that subculture you can share with us?
It does happen, and it depends where in the city you're at. But Intimo, for instance, we've been supremely lucky to be one of those spots. One of those spots where you come after hours or after you close shop and come and open up a bottle of wine. It's actually happening right now. And or get a cocktail or a drink and chit chat. Then we also created a place called a segment in Intimo called Late Night that we do every 15 days for 7 months out of the year. And that was another opportunity for people to come after hours from 11 o'clock till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes to get $5 meals, $5 cocktails, and pushing to that whole crew of people that are really, restaurant people aren't the best paid people in the world. So trying to give them that chance that, you know what, I can actually go to Intimo, get a good drink, get a good meal, and try something different. And then every year we've tried changing late night as well. Like we do chefs that come in, we do street food from different parts of the world, and that's been the whole, but there is that community. And actually one of the reasons I was mentioning to you guys before the show, the whole idea of the La Brigada Colectiva, the collective brigade, is a bunch of friends that got together and said, you know what, let's start creating a voice, because we have this group that joined every 2 or 3 days. We're together sitting at a table, eating a meal, having drinks or whatnot. And we started brewing up a couple of ideas, a couple of concepts of different things that we thought should be done in the restaurant industry for the future of the restaurant industry. And I mean, collectively as our group, and there's other groups doing it as well. And but it's funny to see how all that was born from sitting down and chit-chatting, having drinks, and like you guys said, like what Anthony Bourdain does when he goes to different restaurants and when he was alive around the world, and having that good time and chit-chatting, talking about the ups and downs of the restaurant industry or of your personal life or whatever.
I'm gonna flash some stuff across the screen here. We've been talking about Intimo, so I prepared a little contact information. Here's your Instagram. People can check out your menu and your contact information.
Robbie,
right?
sorry, we raided your Instagram account.
That's fine. You did the homework I was supposed to do.
That's right.
So tell people how do they order food? What's the trip right now?
So to order food right now, you can go into the Instagram account, look at our menu, and you can call us at 388-1365, or if not, you can also DM us and we'll get into touch with you. And right now we're doing deliveries direct, if depending on certain places, but we'll give you all the information. We try getting to everybody everywhere, so if you tell me you're out in Arraijan, you might have to give me 48 hours or something like that, but we try to get to everybody everywhere. We've done Chilibre, we've done Panama Pacifico, we've done Santa Maria, we've done all over the city so far. So.
And are you guys active every day, or is there a specific amount of time during the week that you're catering to people?
We're open from Wednesdays to Sundays, but if you tell me within 48 hours that you want something on a Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, we'll open up the kitchen and we'll make something for you or whatever, depending on what's being ordered and amount and etc.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. It's very flexible. I don't know many restaurants that offer that amount of flexibility to their customers, man.
Is there a
Good
drink
stuff.
service included, or is that even possible?
Robbie, you're on mute.
My bad. Yeah, so we started with our famous homemade sangria, and it's something that I'm not going to say it's famous, but it's something I personally had not made in about 6 years, because I've had plenty of it made while I was in the States, and I must have made 1,000 batches of the stuff, and I said I wasn't going to make sangria for a while, and after a 6-year hiatus in the pandemic, I got back into making sangrias. But yeah, right now we have a sangria, and then every 2 weeks we're going to start adding other new cocktails. We want people to try. We trust our art and what we're making, and we really want people to try it before I give you a whole cocktail menu. So for the next 3 months, we'll be adding new cocktails every 3 weeks. And if you want to order, let's say, a batch of Old Fashioned, I'll make you a batch of Old Fashioned as well, or a margarita batch, and we'll send it over.
Very cool.
Hey, I've tried that sangria. It is delicious. I kept the bottle too because it was so pretty. So now it's a decoration.
I've got a picture of it
on my
somewhere.
bar cart. But it has a very nice. It tastes like mulled wine, is what it reminded me of. But that's the bottle right there. But I guess sangria is kind of like mulled wine. But it tastes like mulled wine. So I really enjoyed it. It was comforting.
Yeah, it's because I tried not using. Not that I tried. I didn't use any sugar, but so the natural ingredients that make it sweet is pineapple juice. Fresh made pineapple juice from Panama. Pineapple extremely sweet here in Panama. So it's pineapple juice, chartreuse, which is our herbal liqueur from France, a little bit of orange brandy, Napoleon brandy, and a blend of wines. And we let it sit for a week. And ginger. We add a little bit ginger juice to it as well. And the whole idea behind it is trying not to get people hungover or too saturated with it as well. So the whole idea was like you could actually drink it with your food. It's spiced at a point where it pairs really well with our food as well. Our food is very aromatic, a lot of spices in our food, very Caribbean, and our whole idea is that, trying to get people to drink the sangria with the food, and any cocktail we make in-house. We're always trying to push it for it to be a perfect pairing with the food that's on the menu at the time. So you won't see any drinks that don't, like, I'm not going to get into an old fashioned right now because it's a very dry drink after dinner drink or aperitif, having a sunny afternoon on your balcony or your house or your backyard. So the whole idea behind that is trying to make drinks that actually go with the food.
And people are asking, where can they get the sangria? HB was answering there. We're talking with Robert Martin from Intimo Restaurant. They make a wonderful sangria. It's delicious. You can get it. It's right across the street from your house. You have no excuse.
I also noticed, Robby, in one of the pictures it said curbside. There's a.
So yeah, you could actually come to the restaurant and pick up. We'll give you the time. You can come straight to the restaurant, and we'll offer drinks that you can have while you're waiting. So if you want to have a cocktail while you're waiting, that's also part of the menu.
Okay, I've got the curbside menu on the screen. Aquilino says that I'm trying to get him drunk. Always Aquilino. That's what I do, man. Come on.
Hey, Robby, then speaking on this new menu that you guys have developed, what's it been like you guys to adapt to the quarantine, the coronavirus? Because it's impacted a lot of restaurants in the country. A lot of restaurants that have not been able to stay active like you guys. What has the process been like? How have you guys been able to maintain the flexibility to make progress within such limited space?
Well, I mean, for quarantine, the answer to quarantine was delivery. So we took a 3 months hiatus. We analyzed everything, what was going on. We had a sister restaurant that we were running as well, but it was just too much of a big operation to be able to run it during this time. And for Intimo, it was just, we do delivery, we do something a little more laid back than what we do. Usually still great flavors, great techniques behind the food and everything. And that's what we've been trying to survive on pretty much. I mean, restaurants right now are pretty much, no one's really making money. It's more of like, let's pay the bills and be at par with our bills, with the landlord, with electric bills, etc. And until this all opens up again, which is right around the corner.
Yeah. And what's it been like with regards to staff? Like, what does your current operation look like? You know, when you're preparing the drinks and the food, how many people do you have at Intimo at any given moment, just making sure the orders are met?
Right now, I mean, in the kitchen plus chef, there's 3 people, and there's certain days where they dedicate themselves to production, to making everything for the week, and then when deliveries, pedidos start kicking in, whatnot, we just get together, cook the food on point, al momento, y we shoot out the food.
Right.
And we don't let anybody come in or anything like that as well. I mean, we follow a lot of procedures. In the beginning, there wasn't anything on paper yet till actually a couple days ago on how you were supposed to behave or do whatever for delivery. Nothing really came out to be on that until 2 days ago. So right now, what we do is mask, gloves, everything, and don't let anybody come into the restaurant. Everything's distant, and making sure that our drivers are also, protected with their hands, gloves, etc.
But you're muted again, Robby. Joe, it sounds like you got an update on the game. What's going on?
Right now, the game is tied 38-38. Miami and Milwaukee are tied at 38.
Oh my God! So
ESPN was giving me an update.
That's the chime. So you've got the pulse on the Panama restaurant scene, and we've seen a lot of stuff going around about restaurants that closed. But you've already mentioned to us the measures that you're taking to deal with what's going on right now. Do you have any idea from the restaurant point of view when we'll be able to visit, or what's the current situation in the near future?
28th of September is the date that we open up, that they're going to let us open up. We're still analyzing the whole situation and wondering whether or not we'll open up for that date. We still want to see a little bit of how people are going to behave, how people are behaving right now. Because there hasn't been any blueprint on this whole situation, and a lot of people have been out on the street now that they can go out on the street. A lot of people, we already have reservations that people have asked us, hey, on this date we want to be able to sit down. So we've taken some, but letting everybody know, like, hey, it might change depending on the whole situation, what's going on. We don't want to promise anything 100% until we're 100%.
Very cool. So, Joe was telling me, and I've been very interested because we did a show about the dairy end in Scotland. I heard that you had a personal project involving those two countries.
So, for a couple of years, we were looking for. We've been looking for different stories on the history of Panama and whatnot, and one of them was the first and only colonization that Scotland did in Panama, Darien. So I came up with a blend with ice-laced Scotch whiskey and a blend of rum, a 40-year-old rum, and that's how that came to be. And it's called the Darien para Nueva Caledonia.
Very cool. And how well received was it?
I had 20 bottles and I sold 20 like in 2 hours, or something like that, an hour and a half. So
I think I was one of the first people. I must have been one of the first people to write to you, telling you that I wanted that, and I had to tell him several times.
I sold 15 within 45 minutes, and the other 5 I sold them like an hour later.
But have you gotten any feedback? Sorry, HB. Go ahead.
Is there any current availability or availability in the future?
No, it's not available right now, but there's going to be other blends I'll be making pretty soon. One of them called chocolate or chocolate milk, playing with the whole idea of chocolate milk. It's a blend between. It's going to be another blend between rum and scotch, and it's a milk bath, which pretty much you dose the liquor in milk. It takes a bath and you separate it. Then after that, you infuse it with cacao nibs, so it tastes like chocolate, not like Nesquik or anything like that, but you have that connotation of the lactic and the chocolate, etc., and it gives you that whole experience.
Have you gotten any feedback from the people that have tried it? Because I haven't tried it yet. I've smelled it a couple of times. It smells wonderful, but for some reason, I'm always scared because I don't want to like open it and then finish it at once, and then it'll be gone forever. But I promise you, I will open it at one point. But have you gotten any feedback from the people that have actually tasted it?
I've only heard good things so far. I actually got someone yesterday, and I haven't heard anything negative so far. I mean, it was something I've been working on for a long time. I had the rum for a couple years, for a long time, not a couple years, but at least part of the rum I've had for at least 20-25 years when it was given to me by my grandpa.
Hey Joe, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. Robbie seems to be frozen. I can hear you. I think
yeah,
Robbie's
he's frozen.
I think there's just so much excitement going on.
We'll switch from that. We'll switch from that.
No, I can hear you great. I can hear you great. So, all right. Well, HB, for those of you that can still hear me, because thankfully I do not have a thunderstorm going on over my house, HB is going to continue on the mixing trip. He's going to make himself a bourbon with some chocolate simple syrup. Now, for those of you that are wondering, how do I make a simple syrup? You just take some water, you boil it, you add some brown sugar to it, half and half, and then you let the sugar melt into the water. Once it's dissolved completely, you can take that out, and that's how you make a classic simple syrup. Is there no sound from anyone or just from HB? Can y'all hear me? Is what I want to know. Because I just got a thing here that says no sound. Joe. Half and half. Yeah, they can hear me. Half sugar, half water. So put in a half a cup of sugar, equal parts. Not half and half like coffee, equal parts. You just mix them together, wait for the sugar to dissolve, and then you put it in the refrigerator, let it cool, and then you will end up with a nice mixture like this one here, which is basically sugar water. So if you taste it, super sweet, very sweet, simple syrup. So there you go.
Okay, I got my mic loaded up, and I'm just doing the finishing touches on my chocolate bourbon drink. I'm not sure this is going to turn out okay, Joe, but you know, like Robby said, it's about experimentation. Fortunately, he's got all those years of experience and tutelage. All I've got is many years of being drunk, so I don't know. So here we go.
Hey, you know, I think sometimes you learn a lot when you're drunk, like by osmosis. You know, it just kind of goes into your noggin, and you learn the skills.
I'm happy to report that I like it.
Excellent, and that's what matters. And I think we've lost Robby altogether from Skype, but it's okay because we're still here and we're still making drinks.
Yeah. I gotta turn the volume up because it's raining so hard right now. You guys wouldn't even believe it.
Is everything okay? Are you safe and secure in your location?
I'm gonna report myself safe on the 3 and 4 channels that we're streaming on. I report myself safe on Instagram, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on Periscope. That's Rapscallions is everywhere, man. We're trying to take over. So
global. Hey guys, and those of you, you know, we were talking with Robby Martin, Chief Mixologist, Supreme Mixologist at Intimo Restaurant. This guy, if you haven't gone to Intimo, if you haven't tried Intimo, well, you can't go right now, obviously, because you can't sit in a restaurant. But they do have a menu for deliveries. You guys need to hit that up because their food is delicious. Their drinks are wonderful. That sangria that he mentioned, top notch. Quality sangria. I enjoyed it very much. They have these little burgers. They're called Intimo burgers on their menu. HB, you will not. Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Oh,
it's like ooh la la. I'm gonna try and see.
Ooh la la, and it's
I'm gonna try and see if I can't get we made a slideshow and there's a lot of good food on there. So while we're waiting for the internets to rectify itself, I know I'm having trouble with a big rainstorm. I think Robby probably got zapped or something. I don't know. But
he got zapped because the universe knows he's too cool and it doesn't want him sharing
right.
all the
He was
secrets.
about to share some very secret recipes with us, and the CIA blocked us, and Russia did too.
Yeah, because Russia doesn't want us. They don't want us to succeed. They don't want us to prosper. But like Robby said, man, whatever doesn't kill you, only makes you stronger.
All right, Joe. Let me see if I can find those. Here's. Have you had this plate at Intimo? It's like a.
I have had that actually. I purchased it this past Friday. That is the way Robby explained it to me was that it was Carlos Tombolin Alva's version of Chef Boyardee. But let me tell you something. Chef Boyardee ain't got nothing on that delicious pasta that you see right there. Okay, that was like a spaghetti and meatballs with a yogurt sauce, and plus he added some little spiciness to it. Oh my God, to die for. Like seriously, if I had some in front of me right now, I would totally eat it. Again,
I'm gonna have to try that. When I get back to the city, I'm trying that because that reminds me of my youth. When I was a youngster, we used to go surfing, and then we put a can of Chef Boyardee on the engine block to warm up, and then you come back in and you open the can up, you got a hot meal. So I think I'm grown now. I'm not a little bitty children's anymore. It's time for me to try the grown-up version of Chef Boyardee. I want to try Chombolin's Chef Boyardee.
Hey, let me tell you something. You will not be sorry, okay? Because Friday, I got off work and I was like, man, today was heavy. I need something to like lift my spirits. And I hit Robby up and I said, hey, what do you have on the menu that's got some beef in it? And he was like, what, like spaghetti and meatballs or something? And I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. He's like, this is gonna knock your socks off. Hey, guess what? I'm not wearing
Oh.
socks right now because they got knocked
You
off on
lost
Friday.
your socks
They
and they're
say
gone forever. I love it. Hey, that's
gone forever.
that's
Yeah,
where we're
gone
going.
forever.
That's we were just talking about you, Robbie. We were talking about the Chombolin's version of Chef Boyardee. Let me get you back on the.
That's exactly what Chombo was going for with that dish, Chef Boyardee. That's exactly what he's going for. Joe actually tried it.
Yeah. I was telling them, but you have more knowledge of this dish than I do. I was just telling them that it's the most incredible thing I've ever tasted, and that if I had some right now, I would be shoveling it into my mouth and I wouldn't be able to speak.
Yeah, Robbie, while you were
No, but
gone,
it's good stuff. Chombo always tries to make stuff that people like, enjoy, but with good product. With great
Yeah.
products.
while you were gone, Robbie, I made an invention here. I want to see what your initial thoughts are. This is simple syrup with 2 tablespoons of cocoa, and then I put Jim Beam chocolate simple syrup, a dash of bitters, and a little bit of water.
How much chocolate syrup?
No, I put cocoa powder, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder into the 1-to-1, 1 cup to 1 cup. Yeah.
Simple syrup. Oh, okay. Cool. No, but how much did you put that into the drink? A spoon or
like this much. That's a technical term.
okay.
It's like a lot of Jim
Yeah, that's
Beam,
the way to go.
probably not that much simple syrup. I don't like things too sweet,
Teaspoon maybe.
but I like it. It's got the pepperiness of the Jim Beam and a little hint of chocolate in the background.
Oh, it's good stuff. You can't lose with Jim Beam, man. Jim Beam, I think, is like the best price and value and flavor. It's good
Absolutely.
stuff, man.
So let's.
And how
I've
did
got
you
a
like
bottle
it?
of
Like
that
the drink?
Jim.
You
Sorry?
like the drink or you're forcing
Oh, I
yourself
like
to
it.
drink
He loves it.
This is gonna be a dangerous one.
It's your
Yeah, yeah.
concoction.
If you don't like your own brand, you know you're doing something
Seriously,
wrong.
man. Yeah, man.
So
Hey, so Robbie, let me ask you something. So you guys have that Brigada Colectiva, which sounds like super cool and amazing. And, you know, just within restaurants in Panama, what's the competition like? Is there like a healthy sort of friendly competition? Or like, are you guys all best friends and buddies?
There's a big, I mean, the guys in La Brigada Colectiva, we're all friends. We all sit down, we
Yeah.
have drinks, we'll have dinner with families, everything. We're all very close. You'll see competition with other restaurants or whatnot. Soap operas, you'll see every once in a while.
Oh man, he froze right when he was getting to the good stuff.
he's back.
What's that?
He froze right when you were
Yeah,
gonna give us the dish.
all the juicy
on the
stuff.
drama.
No. I don't like going into the drama. We try avoiding it. La Brigada Colectiva is pretty much a group that's trying to avoid any type of drama. It's just a bunch
Right.
of guys, you know, that want to do something good, wanna leave a good they want to press a good finger, like a well fingerprint into the whole scene of what the culinary world is in Panama. Because I mean, there's so much going on right now, a pandemic, and you're always going to see negative things, and in every aspect of life. And La Brigada Colectiva is just one of those groups that are trying to avoid that whole situation. And we know we'll run into little hiccups here and there. I've already run into a couple of hiccups so far, and it's just part of the process. But we're all against la telenovela.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a hot button.
Yeah,
I've got a hot button question.
It's enough of the pandemic.
Have you been asked or approached for reservations from anybody from the Asamblea or from the government for special restaurant openings?
No.
Good answer. Good answer.
Flat no to you. Shame on you, anyway. No, yeah, no. In our
digging,
restaurant, never
man.
really been you know, in Panama, you pretty much know which restaurants are like the restaurants where politicians like to go. A lot of those restaurants have private seatings, etc. Intimo really isn't into the. We don't have a private, it's all open kitchen, open bar. I mean, everything connects by footstep. There's no blocks between the bar and the kitchen, or the service or the floor. So I think politicians avoid wanting to come here unless they want to shut down the whole place and take over the whole place. But that hasn't happened yet.
So it sounds to me that Intimo
Hey,
is.
listen, I think
Go ahead, Joe.
No, it's just I just wanted to reiterate how open it is, because I think I've been into every single room there is in Intimo just by walking around. There was never a locked door that said private, don't come in. So if you don't want to be seen, you shouldn't go, because everybody's going to see you everywhere, man.
I think it's all in the name, right?
I mean, I have mixed. Yeah,
That's
so,
right.
I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I think that people should respect the whole process right now with the pandemic, etc. But then there's also a situation where the biggest, so small businesses, restaurants run 80% of that worldwide. Anywhere you go, 80%. And the answer to restaurants surviving has been delivery, and that's it. The governments have pretty much told you know what, here you go, survive, do whatever you can do with delivery. Intimo's not a delivery restaurant. We never have been, we never even thought about it, ever. It's just not the kind of service we give, and our focus is all on service at the level that we do our service. And so we had to reinvent the logo, our energy, our background, everything. I mean, now if you go into the Instagram account, there's a new website coming up pretty soon. There's a plus más Intimo. So, and that's pretty much it's what I was telling you guys before. We took a more laid back approach, made fun dishes, like for instance the Chef Boyardee pasta that Joe was just talking about. It's a really good dish, amazing dish, good produce. But we made it fun. It's laid back. But the government really has their route. So, una sinvergüenzura que existe with the whole situation of politicians going to restaurants and doing their whole private things, and I think it's wrong on the politician side, but it's also for the restaurant. A lot of restaurants are closing. 60% of the restaurants are closing. 80% of restaurants in Casco Viejo have closed. I mean, those are big numbers.
Yeah.
And the government hasn't given you any answer. We followed the law. We said, you know what, we're going to close. We're going to listen to what you're telling us to do. But that means I'm going to lose my business because the government decided I had to close. And I understand the whole approach to it and why it has to be done. But you know what are you going to do for me when I'm respecting?
Right.
So for some of these restaurants, I feel bad because, you know, the reasons they let these guys come in is because, you know what, hopefully we'll make some money tonight and I can pay a couple of my guys on the roster, and I can see.
All right, Joe. We got another interruption in the internet. So have you tried this one? It looks like some sort of tacos. Like
those are tacos. Yes, those are delicious too. Those are wonderful.
Can you tell?
I think I tried those pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic.
So my memory is not that great on them.
Were you drinking? You're doing some you're doing a mixology tour when you tried them, didn't you?
No. The thing is with these dishes, obviously, when you have these like menus that, you know, you have like 15 different dishes that you have to try. Robby also does this thing where he sets up different each dish, so you can taste how the drink, you know, complements the flavors of the dish.
Right.
So it's really it's a good experience if you don't take care of yourself, though. I mean, you're gonna end up blasted in a good way because it's all quality stuff.
I can't wait when I get back, and when we get back to normal, the three of us are gonna do a Rapscallion style. We're gonna go to Intimo. We're gonna do the taster, and then I'm gonna bring my own new invention, my chocolate Jim Beam drink, and then we're gonna videotape Robby Martin's face, so the whole world will know whether it's good or not. That's the plan, okay?
Yeah, man. And you can prepare it. We'll ask him to let you prepare it at his mixologist station.
This stuff,
and you can do the shake.
I brought all my tools out. I set up. I was really excited about today. I've got this thing where you can.
Oh, machaca.
And then I got.
Are you making a beat? That's what we do.
I got all my spices. If I want to add some spices. This has juniper berries, cardamom. This is what's the red flower? The stuff that you're drinking? Sari, and then red peppercorns. I don't know why they put red. Yeah. I guess red peppercorns. I got these at Felipe Mota, and what I did is this is the important slice of pie for me. This one here. This is juniper berries, And what I did was I made my own version of Panamanian Seco. I put the juniper berries in Seco, or gin. Essentially, all gin is a neutral spirit with juniper berries in it. That's where it gets its name gin from. Some language they call it juniper or something. I don't know what else. But if you take some juniper berries and you soak it in Seco or any neutral spirit, you'll end up with a gin. So I made my Panamanian version of gin, and I put a little bit of culantro in it because that's Panamanian, right?
No doubt. Hey, why aren't you bottling that and selling it?
I oughta.
You should, if there's anything. I mean, hey, there you go. The official Gin of Rapscallions.
Yeah. What was the name of it again? You broke up a little bit. See, the CIA doesn't want anyone to know. That's why they're interrupting our feed. Looks like we've lost Joe too. So you know what, guys? You guys are stuck with good old HB Tui, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my drink station here. Have a look here. I see you froze up, so we're gonna talk about my drink station.
Carry on.
This is a friend of mine gave me this. It's the Abuelo Two Oaks. This is their latest product that's come out. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Don Abuelo. If you can't tell, I've got the 7-year-old, which I agree with Robbie. This is probably the best bang for the buck rum you're ever gonna find. I've got another go-to, Appleton Estates, and I think my favorite Caribbean rum, which I haven't been able to find here in Panama, or I haven't been able to find it out here in the interior, is Mount Gay's. I like the Mount Gay's rum, and of course I've got the classic.
HB, I think I'm back.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, man. I did a new update on the phone, and iPhone always does that to me.
Oh, we've been on a been on a crunk tour.
Boys in the background are saying it's because we're in the Banana Republic, but I think it's a new update for the iPhone. My bad, guys.
Oh, no worries, man.
Sorry to everybody.
It's okay, no worries. Am I back?
Yeah, everyone's back. We're all back. I love it.
Woo! The team's back together again. Yeah.
Oh, you fell off also?
Yeah.
This is what I was telling the public about. Seco con pipa, loco.
Yeah, seco and agua de pipa. Any rum is really a good it's a good pairing. You go to Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, everybody aged rum with coconut water is like the way to go. But interesting story, really quick with Seco. Now you were talking about Seco, HB. Seco Herrerano was actually, the term Seco comes from the term dry. And when Panama separates itself from Colombia, everyone's like, well, why are we still drinking this anisette water? Because it wasn't called aguardiente back then. It was a form of anisette, because back then a lot of people would drink anisette, absinthe, what's it called from Spain? El Anís del Mono, all these Italian aperitifs before and after dinner drinks. And it's something that died out. But back then, a lot of the allocation from Europe wasn't coming to Panama. So they had to find a way to make their own anisette. And that's how they started making a sugarcane-based liqueur with anise in it. So when they separate from Colombia, everybody gets all independent and starts saying, well, why are we still drinking this stuff? We're not from Colombia anymore. And everybody in the interior starts saying, lo quiero seco, I want it dry, which is a term that you use in cocktails and Manhattans and martinis. When you want it dry, you want less of that
sugary, or
you want less of the additives or whatnot. And that's how that was born. A lot of people think also that the U.S. was behind it, because when the U.S. separated from England, the U.S. had more than 150 distilleries in the original 13 colonies. The majority in New England. And everybody started rebelling, saying, hey, but this was a business that the Brits had, where they were making their rum, bringing the sugar cane from the Caribbean and taking it to taking it to Europe. So everybody's like, let's stop making this stuff. And everybody started getting into more grains and etc. and blah, blah, blah. And that's how it was all about nationalism. Same thing with
So is that how bourbon was born? Just from migrating from rum to the grains. You lost the. There you go. You lost your mic.
Robby, you're on mute.
No, I'm listening to you guys.
Okay. Yeah. So.
No, how was bourbon born?
What's that?
Is there a correlation between what you said about the U.S. giving up distilling rum for England and moving on to grains? Is that how bourbon was born?
I mean, bourbon. It was. I mean, there's a lot of theories on how bourbon was born. Back then, they knew they were making stuff with certain grains. They were distilling with grains, distilling with corn. But it wasn't until later like at least 100 years till it was actually official. A lot of people think it's from Bourbon, Kentucky. It has no correlation. It's actually because these two French guys were selling whiskey on Bourbon Street in Louisiana and New Orleans, and that's how it all started. And then there's a little history about bringing whiskey down the river that came down the Mississippi, bringing it down that river all the way down to New Orleans, and there's a lot of different stories and history behind that, but nothing that's 100% sure.
Gotcha.
Or concrete.
Gotcha. Well, I love Seco. I think it's very underrated, and I think it falls in the same canopy as like a Caribbean rum agricole. It's just not as funky. I think I think it's triple distilled.
Yeah. Rum agricole, the reason it's funky is that the fermentation goes for a longer period of time. So if you leave a banana in the kitchen and you leave to a business trip or vacation or whatnot, you'll realize that within 2 or 3 days you start smelling the bananas, etc. And as days continue to fall by, you get more and more of that funkiness, and that's exactly what happens with rum. More fermentation time gives you more
notes.
Congeners es lo que le dicen. And that's where you get that smell from. It's fermented. Seco Herreranos is fermented for 48 hours. I'm sorry, 24 hours, and it's distilled 3 times. So every extra time every time you distill it once more, you lose more of those attributes that you have on the nose and the mouth. So it's and then it's 36% because they wanted to bring it down a little bit more on dilution, adding more water, so it wouldn't burn as much when you drink, so it would be a little more smooth. So it's a great product. The problem here in Panama, I think, is that when we were kids, especially when I was a kid, a liter of Seco was like $4.
I'm going to cut you off real quick, Robby. Let me cut you off, Robby. We've got like 30 seconds. Instagram has an hour limit. We're about to be cut off on Instagram, but guys, don't worry. I'm going to put in the chat where you can follow us on Facebook. It looks like Joe's way ahead of me. Thanks, Joe. And we're going to call this the after party. We've talked about Robby's start, where he went from naval. Okay, we're done with Instagram, guys. It's the after party. After party.
After party.
All right, this is where we're going to talk about drinks. We need some of your mixology. Finish your story about Seco before I cut you off. We're done with those stuffy Instagram people. Now, it's time for the after party.
That's right.
What were we talking about? We're talking about Seco.
Yeah, you were telling us about in your youth.
Yeah, Seco's distilled 3 times. It's super pure. And when we were kids, we used to drink it, mix it with
Gatorade or Kool-Aid.
60, 70 grams of sugar. And everybody had a hangover afterwards. Then when you started working, you would actually start buying a little more expensive stuff, whiskey, etc., blah, blah, blah. Then you forgot about Seco. But Seco is actually really good stuff. Very clean product as well.
This is my own experience, Robby.
And then you got
my own experiment is Seco, juniper berries, and a rosemary.
Oh yeah.
Hooah.
And you that sounds good.
It's interesting. The first infusion I did with juniper and Seco, I put culantro in it, but even one little square of culantro completely overpowered it. So I put a sprig of rosemary in this one, and it came out nice, very citrusy for some reason. I don't know. Good.
It sounds a very.
Hey man, you need to like bottle that. You need to, like, sell that.
Gin scallions.
That's what
Have
we're
you tried
getting to the top.
making? So you could actually make daisies or whatnot. So the daisy came before the daiquiri. The daisy's gin with lemon and
I'll
simple
try that
syrup.
one next.
So
I'm running out
try
of
that as well.
my chocolate drink.
Seriously, man.
My
That's
chocolate
why I got a
milk.
bunch of gin back here. Robbie, I know that I saw a video of you mixing drinks with Seco on the. So is there like
The CIA doesn't want us to know the secrets, Robbie. They keep cutting off.
exactly.
So I think what he was getting at is
question.
yeah.
Okay, my sign are going, guys.
am I
What was your
back?
question, Joe? You froze up.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're
Like
back.
a really delicious Seco cocktail.
So there's this
You can whip up real quick.
easy 1, 2, 3 punch. So there's this brand called Fever. There's Fever Tree, but there's also a brand called Fentimans. It's from England. They brew botanicals together. They add CO2, and they've made a lot of great products. And one of them is called Rose Lemonade, and it's not as aromatic. I mean, it's aromatic, but it's not sweet, and it goes really well with Seco or with gin. But with Seco, it's amazing. And it's actually something I'm really proud of in New Orleans. There's this, I guess we can call it the Oscars for the cocktail world or whatnot. An organization called Tales of the Cocktail, and they actually put it up on their website, the cocktail. And it's Seco. It's added to that. You have this Fentimans, which is a sort of like a tonic water, but it's not tonic per se. And Peychaud bitters, which is another form of, it's like, I always call bitters condiments, pretty much. It's like adding salt and pepper to food, a little bit cayenne here, etc. They're all condiments, but they all do different things. So, and Peychaud is this other bitter that was created in New Orleans, and it's really good stuff. And it's a 1, 2, 3 punch. It doesn't, probably takes 30 seconds to a minute when you're first learning how to make it, but it's really good stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try this one out because I've actually started drinking more Seco during this pandemic than I ever have before. But just because I've learned how to appreciate it more. So now I always try to have Seco in my bar, which is behind me. You can't see it.
We'll send it Seco with tonic water and a little bit of lime. It's good stuff.
You know what I did last time? I had some Seco, I added some saril to it, and then I also added some tonic water, and I added a couple of splashes of achombo. I stirred that up.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. What kind of tonic water you use, Joe?
No, I was just using, well, no, it wasn't tonic water, sorry, it was sparkling water.
Sparkling? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
good. It's really,
Hey,
really good
and
stuff.
the ajichombo, like just a bit though, just to make it a bit spicy. Man, wonderful. Totally recommend it. You take that one. It's my gift to you.
That sounds good. Ajichombo.
All right, I'm going for the.
Yeah.
I
I'm
really
going
like
for the.
ajichombo. Ajichombo goes well with
I'm going for the Seco gin, and you said should I use regular simple syrup or the raspadura simple syrup?
Try the raspadura.
There we go.
Man, I feel like we're all anxiously waiting to see what happens
Yeah.
to HB.
What's that?
We're anxiously waiting to see what happens to HB, whether or not he makes something delicious or it just tastes like garbage. But he still has
I would like to tell the crowd that I'm Irish, so most likely it will be delicious.
So JB, where do you buy your stuff? Do you buy stuff in the city and take it back home, or
I'm lucky.
or you're lucky with Felipe Mota out
There's
there
a
and all that
99 in Rio Hato now in Playa Blanca, and they've been getting better. But my staples are rum and Ron Abuelo, and then I have a bottle of Jim Beam, and they've got my staples. You know, if I'm getting adventurous, I can go down to Coronado and go to the Felipe Mota there.
Are there any good water holes where you like going to? Like if you want to go to a water hole out there, or
No.
you haven't discovered anything that's worthy?
I'd rather have some friends over and have a drink with me, huh?
No doubt.
Ah, damn, that's good. The rosemary is definitely the top note on this one. I like it. So I think the last time Joe came up, we were drinking. What were the coolers that we were drinking, Joe? We were drinking some kind of
Spritz. Aerosol?
Aperol. We were drinking Aperol Spritz. Joe came up to visit for the day. This was months ago, and we had some Aperol Spritz because
Aperol Spritz is the way to
those
go.
things are dangerously delicious, man.
Refreshing, dude.
It's super good, and it's dangerous for the hangovers because you can have 1, 2, 3 and keep on going, but
Yeah.
they're tough.
But if I get too cheap with the sparkling wine, you know what I mean? That's when the hangover kicks in.
Well, that's the other thing. It depends what kind of sparkling wine you're drinking too, because if it's sweeter on the sweeter side, that'll take you home also with the hangovers.
All right, so you've instructed us on the easy 1, 2, 3 for Seco. Do you have what? You got. It sounds like the kitchen crew is giving you some crap over there.
I'm getting a lot of crap from the kitchen.
Well, tell him we'll pull the slideshow up about all the foods that he serves. And here we go. What is this that we're looking at, Robbie? This plate here in the middle.
So this is a taco. It's sort of a taco dish that we made for a special that we had for a late night event. So it was part of the street food that we did for late night in Intimo.
You know, you can here's the crew. Are these the guys here that are giving you crap?
No, not the majority of them. There's just a few guys
Okay.
from the kitchen.
And in here, this looks like some kind of take-home product. Is Happy Cow.
So yeah, this is a take-home product that Chomolin made. He launched it this week. It's their dumplings. He has cream, corn, and shrimp. He has a ricotta that's homemade ricotta. It's called Happy Cow.
Ooh.
And then he made a new one called the tamal de olla.
So it's not.
And we have a Spanish style one that's chorizo español with potatoes.
So this is more like pot stickers and less like raviolis, or what's the plan? What's the idea with this one?
Yeah.
Is
What's
that
that?
like a pot sticker, or is it like a ravioli?
It's like the pot stick.
All right, and
So if you steam it, it comes with a little sauce that Chomo makes. You pour it on top after you're done. It's a 5-minute drill. 1, 2, 3 punch and ready to eat.
and here we go. This is like a torta. I don't know what you've got on top there.
So this is a pie that Chomolin has been working on for like a month now, actually. So it's a cherry pie with cherry cream, a cherry custard. This hasn't been launched officially. He's still with the thing with the cherries. It's kind of a mixed match, trying to get cherries consistently, cherries that we want to get. There's some national cherries that we use as well, just to keep it with a whole local vibe as well. But we mix a little bit of the maraschino with the local stuff.
Cool. Is there any?
Is it difficult sometimes? Just
What's that?
sorry. Is it difficult sometimes to get any? Do you come up with ideas, and then since you're trying to get everything locally sourced, is it difficult sometimes to find certain ingredients, or is it pretty straightforward? How do you overcome those challenges?
It's tough. We can't have a fixed menu all year long with local ingredients, because out of nowhere you'll have butternut squash, nyame or whatever, and out of nowhere it'll just disappear and there's no more. Because in places where it used to rain, it hasn't been raining with the same frequency. Marañones is one of the best examples. Marañones was a huge product here in Panama. Every 6 months you would see it on the street, people selling it in bags. And there was a big,
There's a blight.
there was this bug that appeared about 3 or 4 years ago that destroyed a lot of it. There's still some left in the country, and people what's it called? The Ministry of Agriculture has actually gotten into rebuilding the whole market for Marañón once again, but it hasn't been launched yet.
Wow.
But we lose a lot of stuff. Then there's also stuff that you'll have a local a farmer in Cerro Punta growing an incredible product, then nobody buying it, or chefs moving on to something else. So it's a tough scene. It's a super tough scene, and you have to constantly be changing and evolving with the times with whatever it is that you find at the market. Like I said, you'll find stuff, and then you might not see it for another 8 months or a year. So it depends, and then trying to keep certain produce that you know you're going to get all year long on the menu.
Gotcha. Yeah, I lost 3 trees to that Marañón blight, and a lot of people were told to cut them down, and I said, I don't even like Marañóns, but getting me to cut down a tree is probably the most difficult thing in the world. I'll never do that.
I'm the same way. Cutting down a tree it's insane. Here they do it like it's a fashion statement or something, but cutting down trees are insane. Trees have been growing for 20, 30 years.
So we're looking at a bottle of your Darien rum project here, I think.
Yeah. Wait, Robbie, you're on mute. Wait, I think he's giving them lip. I think he's like fighting back to the kitchen staff. We're seeing arguments happening right now at Intimo Restaurant. There's a lot of
Robbie's
fighting.
giving a little slap back to the kitchen crew. They're throwing some dish to him. He's throwing it back. You're seeing it live, ladies and gentlemen. Robbie is throwing back some crap to the kitchen crew. But look, okay, now here's this beautiful bottle. Like, how did you source these bottles for your own blend?
So the bottle, I saw the bottle about, I think maybe November, December last year, and I contacted the company. It's actually a kombucha company that gets these bottles. And during the pandemic, I got into it or whatnot. I contacted the company again, and they told me that they would give me 24 bottles for free. So that's how I got the bottles. And now you can actually buy the kombucha bottles here in Panama.
Very cool.
Well, I love the bottles, man, and I thought it went really well with the whole theme of your project, man. I was like, man,
because
Robbie's a master.
Yeah, that looks like something that you'd find like collecting bottles out in Fort San Lorenzo or something.
Yeah, man.
The Tenon bottles that Joe loves. I've actually got.
Oh, my Tenon bottles. Yeah, no, that's where my dad got them. He's a huge bottle collector, so he has tons of those bottles, man. I was really surprised to find that they had Tenon bottles in Cologne, having gotten to know the beer in Scotland. And I mean, like, to think that way back when those beers were being imported to Panama, insane, man. Really crazy.
All right, here we go.
It's insane how, I mean, you find a lot of those Tenon bottles in Cologne. And this year, I had no idea that the beer existed still until I think maybe 8 years ago that I found out that they were still making the beer. But it was like the Heineken or the Corona of its moment, pretty much. It was the most sold beer at an international level than any other beer in the world at that time.
Yeah, Tenon is very popular.
That's crazy.
I did not know that.
Really? No,
yeah.
It's very popular in Scotland. It's like a hugely popular beer in Scotland. You can find it anywhere. It's incredible.
All right, we need some info for the people at home. So you're the master mixologist, and maybe we've got some people listening that aren't so good at mixing stuff. I mean, what's the first step for them to start their journey into something more flavorful?
Sorry, HB, I lost the last.
I just wanted to ask you if there's some listeners out there that want to take a step up. They want to step up their mixology game. Their basics. Their rum and coke. Their wine. Their straight up beer. What's the next step that they can do? The easiest step to move their game up a little bit.
I think the easiest step right now. I think I tell everybody you want to learn algebra before you learn calculus, and you want to learn how to make your syrups. The simple syrups, like I said, it's easy. It's 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar. If you want to replace the water for another liquid, you can make teas. You want to make Earl Grey water with sugar and create a simple syrup out of that, and play with your rum or your bourbon, etc. That's the way to go. You go little by little but the main thing is simple syrup. Simple syrup and your lemon juice. Squeezing the lime juice, squeezing your lemon juice, playing with the different types of citrics. Passion fruit juice is super high acidity. You can also play with passion fruit juice. Yeah. But yeah,
hey, man, we were doing our work.
Basic steps. Once you get that down, that's all she wrote.
Now, if people are going into, let's say they're inspired by this show and they go into Felipe Mota, are there any instruments they need to pick up or any condiments they should pick up?
I think you have to have bitters, a vermouth. I always use Cinzano. Cinzano's not that sweet. Bitters, aromatic bitters. It's a condiment. It ties your base liqueur with other flavors that you're working with. So let's say you made your simple syrup, you add a little bit of bitters to it, and it ends up tying up that simple syrup to the base bourbon. It's like adding salt to soup. If you don't add the salt, it just doesn't finish. It doesn't connect. So having bitters at the bar is always a big one. And bitters goes well pretty much with everything. And then I also tell people I have a bottle of vermouth because if you want to have vermouth with club soda, you can mix vermouth with rum, mix vermouth with bourbon. You have a Manhattan. If you mix it with scotch, you have a Rob Roy, and so forth. And it's a base liqueur, no sugar, no cocktails, etc. I mean, it's not a shaken cocktail. It's a stirred cocktail. You stir it with a little bit of ice. And then the other part that's also important is the ice. I always tell people the ice that you make in your fridge is probably the best ice you can use when you're making a stirred cocktail in old fashioned. Because if you use bag ice, the ice waters down rapidly. But if you like watered down drinks, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's a big part of Panamanian culture. Is having watered down drink with extra ice all crushed and etc. and bringing down the
I think it's because we were raised on raspados, man. I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, man.
Nah, it's the
heat. You want to be cool, man. That's why I've started making my own ice. Again, I recycle all my yogurt things, and I make a big chunk of ice, and I have nice big spears of ice that last me a while, and don't want her to drink it down too much.
Sure, man.
So we've got a question.
Hey,
go ahead, Joe.
No, I just wanted to ask, is there anything that you wouldn't mix? Like, what things should you most definitely never, ever mix? Or in mixology, anything goes.
Everything's about balance, so you can find ways of balancing things, right? But with dark base liqueurs, you should always try using dark base products. What I mean is, let's say if you want to make an old fashioned, there's people that actually use jelly. So if I'm going to use jelly, let's use something that's like a peach jelly or apricot jelly, something that's a little more brown, that has that oxidation the same way you see the same color. It sounds crazy, but that brown color actually connects a lot. Chocolate with bourbon, coffee with rum, with bourbon, etc., and so forth, with rum, etc., or with bourbon, and then fresh fruit with live-based spirits. Passion fruit with gin, passion fruit with vodka, strawberries with gin, strawberry with vodka. I'm not going to use fresh rosemary with, let's say I want to make a drink with rum. I'm going to make a simple syrup, reduce it, and then use the rosemary in that fashion. I mean, I could use the rosemary fresh, but it's a balancing act. Maybe with a white rum or a younger rum, not with a super aged rum. It depends. It depends what notes you find in the product. But I always use fresh stuff with fresher liqueurs, gin, aquavit, white rum, and then I use stuff that have been cooked or reduced, or other liquors that are infused or whatnot with darker products, etc.
That's a good tip. Do you use beer? Do you do any to me, mixing beer with something is sacrilege, but I just wanted to ask, would you mix beer with anything?
What's that last part?
Is there anything in your catalog where you mix beer into a drink, into some kind of cocktail?
beers, there's a lot of stuff you can do with beers. You can also make simple syrup with beer. And you can actually play with that depending on what. Gin with beer goes really well when you're making a cocktail, a simple syrup. And then there's your michelada and your cheladas. And Bloody Marys with beer also are amazing.
Yeah. I think that's the only time is I put beer in something is if it has tomato juice or micheladas, like you said. I think one of my favorite mixtures is a nice white tequila with toronja juice. To me, for some reason, that's like the perfect combination. What about?
That sounds pretty good.
Tequila
No,
with beer?
with toronja, with jugo de toronja. Silver tequila with jugo de toronja. He's putting a smack down, Joe.
Seriously, man, he's just telling these guys to shut the F up. He's like, screw you guys.
Boom, boom, boom.
Look at him.
Like
I can read
this
those
is a
lips.
man in charge of his bar. You know, this is a restaurant you want to go to.
Hey,
they're
man.
having fun. They're messing with each other. And they're gonna throw down. We got a reflection.
Oh, here comes a fight. He's gonna beat the crap out of him. Oh,
he's doing that.
away.
Entonces.
Scared him
Okay.
away. Yeah.
Here we go. We're gonna get a tour of the kitchen.
Guy.
We're gonna get a tour of the kitchen. Here we go. Robbie's coming back. Restaurant life is colorful, man. I love
He's
it.
coming back. He told those guys what's up. He was like, "You guys can all go to hell."
I like you. That was good. Laying the
What's
smack
that?
down
Nice
with
story
the
about
with the
that.
friends there.
Hey, you were like, boom with the elbow, man.
I saw the entonces. That comes from Colon, you know. You go when someone messes with you, you go like this. You go entonces, entonces, and then you know it's time. You know what time it is. Once you do that, hey. So Robbie, it looks like you're pretty busy over there. Is there any other advice that you want to give to novice mixologists? Is there anything they can do in Panama to follow that career? Maybe I guess online. Maybe we start something new where Robbie can be online with the Rapscallions and teach people how to do mixology.
The thing in Panama is staying consistent. Like people want to get in mixology. A lot of people see it as a long shot or whatnot, and that you have to have a business or whatnot. And a lot of restaurant programs don't have good beverage programs. Or not that they don't have good beverage programs, but they only stick to wine or they only serve certain styles of things and they don't get involved into it. And then Panama still has a big 10 steps to getting to where they need to get with the beverage programs. Because I can count with one hand how many places actually know a lot about everything. You know what I mean? Like everything from beers to tequilas to rums to gins to vodka, etc. And it just doesn't exist. There's just a lot, very few places. Maito, Donde Jose, Tomillo, Cinco. There's Steel Navaja in Casco as well. There's very few places that actually get into the whole trying to take the bar program to Azafrán, Azajar. Also get into, maybe there's around 8-7 restaurants that really get involved 100%. So I always tell guys, get into it, learn as much as you can, get into a restaurant where you can actually start creating a program, but making wise decisions, understanding your clientele, trying to build confidence as well, because it's not like we opened up Intimo and just started shooting Negronis and telling people to drink old fashions. There was a big learning curve behind it. One of the first drinks at Intimo was sangria, not a sangria, but it was like a mulled wine that we would make, and it was carbonated. And we were trying to get people separated from that to the next step of, so now let's try vermouths and let's try other aspects of a beverage program so they can get to understand that there's a whole different world out there. So it's huge. Like I said before, trying to learn algebra before you learn calculus and trying to teach that to people as well, because a lot of the beverage programs here are wine, sangria, beer, and that's it, and then rum and whiskey. But getting into the depthness of it, even pairing food with rum, whiskey, scotch, etc.
So yeah, that's very interesting to me, because you get a lot of wine pairings, but you don't get a lot of cocktail pairings. Is that something you specialize in over at Intimo?
Yeah, we've done it for a while. We always jump back and forth depending on what the menu's like. but it is something that we have done in the past.
That's interesting.
And that's something I can testify to that because I've been a witness to many of these cocktail and meal pairings when I've visited Intimo, and it's very interesting. I think one of the times that I've been most sort of like impressed was when you had that whiskey. You had a whiskey tasting, and at the same time you were also Chombolin was making meals that would go with a specific style of whiskey. So if you had more of a sweet whiskey, you had a meal that went with that whiskey. If you had more of a smoky whiskey, you had a sort of a meal that would go with that. And it's really interesting how the drinks complement the food that you're having. And I think a lot of people don't really take that into account sometimes when they're eating. They'll just kind of say, I'm going to have a beer or I'm going to have a rum and coke. But it can really enhance your sort of culinary experience when you take the time to really find out what drink and what can go together. And I think that's something that you guys do really well. And it's interesting because it somehow feels that you have to educate your customers as well. You know, because the customers that go to your restaurant have to understand what they're getting. They can't just show up and be like, Robbie, I want a rum and coke. You know, I mean, it's a bit more, I mean, I'm sure they can get one if they wanted one. But, you know, I think sometimes customers know that they can get something a bit more, I don't want to say.
They can enhance their experience. Hey, Robbie, I've got a question for you. You're always behind the bar. What's your top 5 pet peeves on the way people order drinks? Is there a certain way you can get better service, better drinks, or let's talk about bar etiquette, man. You're a master mixologist. Let's get some tips here.
Hey.
I mean, in Panama, it's a whole different story because you got to be patient. Like in New York, when you were in New York, there's an etiquette for bars. Like people here, it's been a training process. It's been a process also of saying, you know what, I'm going to do it this way and that's it. I don't care what they're doing at other places. I don't care what the clientele are like because there's a big learning curve with education or whatnot. So having pet peeves here is like, I had them in New York. I don't have them here because here you have to be patient. There's a big education that's and it's being done by restaurants, liquor companies, getting to understand it more as well. That you go into a bar, you order drinks, or you have a cocktail right before you have dinner. That's something that people still don't understand. They'll go on a trip and do it in other countries, but they won't do it in Panama. And Panama's still on that curve. And it's so like I can't say that I get all cocky or whatnot behind the bar because it may be about saying please and thank you, because you do get people just yelling like, hey, dame esto, or saying hey, or whistling.
Yeah.
Whistling has to be the worst thing you can ever do to me at a bar. Ever. Whistling, snapping your fingers, that's got to be the worst thing you can do.
Is there like a...
To anybody, the waitresses, the staff.
Yeah, that's just basic good manners, I think.
No doubt.
What is the top 3 most requested boring ass drink that people always order that you wish that they would stray away from?
Yeah.
That's tough because in Intimo, there's a cocktail menu that's been created, and it's variations on classics, variations on certain things, and at the end of the day, people order what they see on that. So, or if let's say at one point old fashions were in style or whatnot, people were ordering that, Negronis, gin and tonics. The Spanish gin and tonic probably was something that was driving me up the wall, because there must have been, it lasted 2 or 3 years, people were drinking Spanish gin and tonics and balls, and they would tell you, well, where's the ball? Why are you serving it in a high glass or a highball where it was actually created or whatnot? But the Spanish gin and tonic is what they call it, is actually something that was born 10 years ago, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Time to die.
There's other gin and tonics as well. But
Time
that
to
was
bury
on my
it.
nerves.
Do you have any forecast on what the next big drink is going to be? I mean, you got your pulse on the drink wave.
Yeah.
What's something people need to start looking for that they haven't discovered yet?
Something that they haven't discovered yet. It's funny because depending on the restaurant where you go, people order different stuff. So at different cocktail bars, there's like margaritas might be popular down at a place called Oaxaca or whatnot. and then when they come to the restaurant, they'll ask for it. So you get a little bit of everything. But my big thing, I wish that would be like a big thing that might be coming up, is I see more people bringing into the market is vermouth. It's actually what I'm drinking right now. A little bit of vermouth, club soda. You can eat it with olives, but getting into that whole there's so much vermouth in the world, especially in Italy. There's in Spain, and then in the U.S. there's this whole new market. The guys from Amano do a really good job bringing vermouth from the U.S. That it's actually from Washington D.C. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but you can go on the website and they have it on there. And it's an old Italian recipe from 100 years ago that they started making in D.C. and now you can find it here in Panama. And they make like 10, 12 different vermouths.
All right. So where, I'm used to going to the supermarket and getting my liquor there. Where can I go to get a wider exposure to different liquors? Where do you recommend that I go, aside from the Chinito, to get a wider exposure of different vermouths and different alcoholic beverages?
Where's the best variety at?
Where can you
find? No, I'm saying, like, instead of going to the Chinito, where can I go to get? Where do you go to get your ingredients? Where can educate me on where to find it?
I mean, here in the city, it's Felipe Mota, it's Varela, La Botega de Varela Hermanos. They have pretty good stuff as well. And Rivas Smith actually brings in a couple of stuff that they bring in themselves that you can't find in other places. There's also a new project being done by this house called Castellauro. In Castellauro, it's vermouth made in-house.
Oh, wow.
And it's coming out of a restaurant in Villa Argentina. Oye, ¿cómo se llama el restaurante de Nardo? La Taberna 21 is where they're making it. Right?
Interesting.
All right, cool.
It's called Castellauro. And it's not sweet. So for those people who actually sometimes say that's too sweet, theirs is on the drier side. And but I also bring stuff from outside. Like there's like certain vermouths that I can't get in Panama. And when friends are traveling, I'll get them to bring it for me. Mezcales as well. But every year you get more and more products, more variety with local distributors. And that's also a testimony to all the places trying to get, like, the few places trying to push for new stuff in the cocktail industry. Or new stuff in Panama, más que todo.
So do you think the mezcal fad has run its course, or is it still going to live for a little longer?
With the mezcal
fad. This guy's going to punch me next time he sees me.
I mean, it was a big fad in the States. I think it's an amazing spirit. I love this stuff. I mean, I actually, mezcaritas and mezcal with tamarind as well is amazing. I like smoky stuff. I like smoky scotch as well. But not everybody, I think the same people who don't like isolate scotches don't drink mezcal. So it's not for everybody.
I don't like smoky and I don't like peaty. If it's too peaty or too smoky.
Yeah, you don't like peaty. Exactly.
HB hates peaty, man. But I got all the whiskey. Most of the whiskey I got here smells like smoked ham. So
it smells like the bottom of a Scotchman's ball sack, man. It's too peaty.
Well, for the last year at least, we always have to have 2 or 3 bottles of mezcal in the bar, because we get people coming in here asking for cocktails with mezcal and etc. And it's a big deal. So,
hey, let me ask you something. 2 drinks ideas that I have for you right here, right now. I want to know if they're ever going to happen. So, would it ever be possible? Because we know you spoke about your chocolate milk idea earlier on the show. But would it ever be possible to have an Intimo style seco con leche?
What's that, Joe?
Seco con vaca.
An Intimo style seco con leche.
Can I give you a what on the chocolate?
An Intimo style seco con leche.
What's with seco con leche?
That's what you drink at the matanza.
Can you make one but make it your own? You've never had seco con leche? No, you've never had seco con leche?
Oh, of course I've had seco with leche. That's
so I want you to make one, but make it your own.
Like con leche or seco con leche. That's a huge thing in Interior. In las cantinas more than anything. And I mean, a lot of people drink it because they say it doesn't give them hangovers or it doesn't mess with their stomach. I'm not sure how it doesn't mess with your stomach. I've never had a whole night.
You gotta do, but you have to get the fresh.
I've had one.
You need
seco
fresh
con leche,
squeezed
and I'm like,
leche.
okay, cool.
It needs to come. It needs to be warm out of the cow. Because I had it at a matanza. We were drinking this much seco and this much fresh squeezed leche, man, and we went for 2 days, man. That shit was crazy.
Hey, you guys have a lot of space. You guys have a lot of good locally grown products in your lote in Intimo. You guys could set up a section and get a cow and then keep her back there, and she could give you the milk for your seco con leche.
Maybe.
No?
There's a bunch of laws behind that. Having
Livestock.
having a cow in the back, livestock. There's a couple of laws.
I would recommend starting with a sheep. I just.
We can't even have chicken. We wanted to have chickens. We couldn't have chicken.
Really?
Yeah. You're in a neighborhood. I mean, you can't even at your house. By law, you can't have chickens. There's certain. I think in the interior it might change, but in the city, you're not even supposed to have chickens in the city.
Interesting.
Because we thought about
drink idea number
one time.
That'd be
There's
pretty
a bunch
cool.
of laws against it. Yeah.
Wait, is the area where you guys are, is it considered local residential or business?
It's residential.
Okay.
All right, let's hear this drink idea.
All right, drink idea number 2. You take rum, like a Caribbean rum, and you mix it with Speyside whiskey, which is also a bit more maritime. And then you come up with a concoction that's like a whiskey rum marriage for the beach, for boating.
I don't even know where to start on that one.
You're so.
Huh?
I don't even know what to tell you, Joe.
Maybe you can use your maritime architecture skills.
Maybe.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yeah,
there's mixology, and you have a certain level of rum and whiskeys that are aged. At what point do you stop mixing them? Do you stop at 12 years? Would you ever mix a 18-year-old whiskey? Like, where do you, as an expert, draw the line?
Good question.
There's certain things you want to find. If you're drinking something of that age, a lot of people drink because of the number on the bottle and not because what happens in your mouth and your palate, on your nose. And I think once you identify what's happening with that spirit, that 18 years, 12, 14, whatever, if you can enjoy that, like it, and then say, you know what, I want to make a cocktail. And I always tell people, I think it's sacrilegious if you add passion fruit, cherries, or mango or whatnot, because then you just destroyed 18 years of work, of people working at a distillery, taking care of those barrels. You destroyed all of that. Now, if you make an old fashioned, or you make a Manhattan, or you make it's a spirit-based cocktail, because there's spirit-based cocktails, which are Manhattans, old fashions, Rob Roy's, etc. And then you have cocktails that you mix and you shake in a can. But it doesn't matter whether it's an 18, a 12, or a 3-year-old rum. If you're going to shake it in the can, the whole thing's going to change completely. There might be a little bit of a difference, but it makes no sense. You could have done it with a cheaper spirit, or a cheaper bottle. So if you're going to take it to that step, it makes no sense.
So it depends, like on everything else. If you find a note that you want to bring out in your cocktail, then you can use it. Just don't be foolish about it, I guess.
Yeah, with the Darien project, we had 16, 18-year-old Scotch. Then we had we added infused orange peels or whatnot, and then but dry and trying to get the oils out of them. And then we added we joined and married the rum. I looked at the rum I had and the scotches that I had at home, and started working with different. Like, hey, I see there's a little connection here. This has little notes of this, little notes of that, and then I married them, and that's how I created the product. But it's not easy to blend just off the bat. But if you see that, hey, I have a 12-year-old rum over here that has chocolate notes of chocolate or cacao or coffee or whatnot. I also have a single malt over here that also has those notes. Maybe if I blend a little bit of it and try a little experiment, I'll do 60-40 here, maybe 50-50 over here in the glass. and I'll measure little ounces here and there, and whichever makes me happier is the one I'm gonna create at the end of the day.
How long did it take you, the Darien project, to come up with the final mix that you were satisfied with?
What's that?
For the Darien project, for your mix, how long did it take you to come up with something that you were like, okay, I'm satisfied, I'm gonna release it?
I mean, I had notes on the rum from a very long time ago, and it's not gonna change because it hasn't been in the barrel or anything like that. Or it hasn't had any effect from anything else that can change it. So after it's been put in the bottle for so long, nothing really happens to it. Sometimes, depending on where it's been distilled, you can get a little bit of sediment depending on how they made the product. But once you know, and once you play, and once you try tasting everything and finding the nose to everything, it becomes a little more easier. Same thing with the chef. The chef's tasting everything constantly. Chef can taste the sauce and tell you it has this, and that, because he's been doing it for a long time. And it's the same thing with spirits, wines, even beers, because beers also give off different noses. And once you get that into practice, you can start telling yourself, well, okay, I taste this, I taste that. Let me start adding this and that. The Darien project took me maybe a week or so.
All right, wow, okay. That was very quick.
Yeah. I mean, because I already knew the notes.
You had it in your
what
mind,
I wanted
think.
and everything. So when I decided and took a step and said, this is what I'm going to do, I started blending. That was all she wrote.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay. And what about your own Intimo? Because you have an Intimo house blend of whiskey. Do you still have that, or is that gone? You have a house blend of whiskey at Intimo.
We blend every once in a while. We blend depending on what cocktails we're making with that blend. And we always have something on hand. And we mix a little bit of everything. And we do it with scotch and we do it with whiskey. I mean, we do it with scotch and we do it with rum and bourbon.
Rum. Okay.
Sometimes
Very
I feel like a bourbon might be super extra smooth. Then I have another bourbon that's really more woody and a little more raw and structured, and I'll add a little bit of that and try to create a balance where it's not too smooth or too structured, and you play with that. Even with like isolates that are really peaty, you can also add a little more single malt and play with that and bring down the peatiness.
Look at you, HP.
I'll try it. I can't have more than one drink if it's too peaty for some reason.
You know, one of the things that I think surprised me the most was the effect that air has on whiskeys or rum when you pour it and you let it sit for longer and really let it air out. It does open up a lot of different, I guess, smells.
Yeah, it's aeration. The product's been closed for so long and barreled for so long and then put into a bottle that it's all compressed. It's like compressing a file pretty much and then unzipping it so you can get what everything that's inside of it or whatnot. But
so how
once
long
the air hits it, opens up.
How long should one let it air before, if they really want to experience it?
Every product's different. Once you hit that 10-year mark, people do anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. If you play with 5 to 7 years, you do anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, or even a swirl, or passing it to a decanter, then passing it back to the bottle is another process that's a lot of people follow up to, where another form of aeration. And other people also pour something straight into another bottle or a decanter, and it hits and it breaks it up. So when you do it, it's like a fast pour. So you pour the bottle straight into it, and then it just breaks out completely, and that also helps it open up, express itself.
I have a question for you.
Wow. That's interesting.
I mean, I had an old cookbook of my grandmother's that had a drink section in the back, but we've kind of wandered away from it. Do you do any savory drinks? I think the only savory drink that ever survived was the Bloody Mary, but there used to be like beef broth and vodka, you know? Like, do you do any savory drinks at Intimo?
That sounds like a soup.
I haven't really played with that too much. I've made fat washes, and fat washes when you infuse any type of fat with the spirit base, and I've played with
Like
that
a
in the
bone
past.
luge and stuff.
Haven't done it in a while. Yeah.
Boom.
I mean, it's delicate because once again you have to be like, well, how much fat do I want to add to it? And then you can also use fat from the milk wash, which we were talking about before. You can do yogurt. You can do two different types of butter as well. So you can actually like add cinnamon to butter if you want, and add that butter to a base of any type of dark base spirit.
Do you do any brewing of your own?
No, haven't done any brewing yet. I've done brewing in the past, but not. I'm not big into it anymore.
I wanted to share an anecdote during the whole dry law era of the beginning of the pandemic. I ended up brewing some pineapple peel beer. It turned out pretty well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I got drunk. What I did is I took the peel and I boiled it with cinnamon, and I kind of combined the pineapple beer and the ginger beer recipe. So I boiled those together to make a tea and to kill the natural yeast. I threw bread yeast in and then sugar, and I left it for 4 days, and then I bottled it. And wow, I didn't get like super wasted, but I got happy, man. I was like, smiling.
Did you add yeast to it?
What
did you do?
I boiled it to kill the natural yeast, and then I added baker's yeast. That's all I had. So I probably got a maximum of like 6% because I really left it. I let it get funky, man, you know? And then I found out that the 2-liter soda bottles are rated, like the Coca-Cola bottle, those things are rated to like 600 PSI or something like that. So I let it ferment, I added more sugar, and then I put it into old soda bottles. And man, that thing got so effervescent. It was good. It was good. It was crazy.
Wow. Got like a bomb.
But it was a lot of work. And it wasn't like when you drink rum, you're like, it's like a relaxing high. I drank this stuff and I couldn't even spell my own name, but I had a big smile on my face. I was like, All right.
Oh goodness. All right, we have 10 minutes left before we have to wrap this up. Okay,
I had a really good question, but I forgot, man. What's going on here? Oh, I've been drinking. What?
Have you ever tried fermenting anything else, HB?
Yeah, I do lacto fermentation. I do kombucha. I've trying to mix stuff with kombucha, but it's just kind of a vinegar, you know. So one thing that I did was I did a kombucha, and then it turned into a bitters at the end of the day. It was cacao beans. I called it a theobromine bomb. It was cacao, yerba mate, and green tea and coffee. And I made a kombucha out of that, and I let it sit and carbonate for a long time, and it came out.
How do you carbonate it? Do you add?
Once you have your initial carbonation, you just add more sugar for the bacteria, and then you bottle it. I used to bottle it in glass bottles, like old Grolsch bottles, but it turns out that those 2-liter Coca-Cola bottles, you don't have to worry about explosions or anything. Those things are rated for like, I don't know, like so many PSI that I do them in there, and after a while, that theobromine bomb turned into a type of bitters. The vinegary kind of went away, and it had like a peppery taste to it. Not what I expected after committing 4 months to it. But the theobromine and the caffeine and all the stuff that's found in coffee and whatnot that makes you alert was definitely present. So that was kind of my experiment, was to try and isolate that caffeine.
That sounds good, man. I made 2 or 3 different batches over the last few months, but the carbonation process just doesn't always happen to the way I want it to happen, or it just stays flat. It's insane because they'll stay flat, and then I get the SCOBY is creating more scope. I mean, everything is healthy. The process is amazing, but just no carbonation.
What I found is you have to do your second ferment. I have my SCOBY and then I have a cheesecloth over it with lots of oxygen and stuff. And then once it's vinegary, I take the SCOBY out and then I add more sugar. Essentially, it's a simple syrup. Add a simple syrup to it, and then I put it in a bottle that's sealed. And in probably about 3 or 4 days, you're going to start getting some carbonation. I mean, when I make my kombuchas, I'm making a tonic. I'm not making a tea. You know, I like mine very vinegary and very potent. You know, and I take a shot a day. But as far as carbonating, it's all about figuring out your second fermentation.
Where'd you get your SCOBY?
Where did I get it? Someone gave me a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gifted. Okay.
Yeah, I got a little. Karina was in a play with someone, and they gave us a little juice bottle of kombucha, and it had a little bit of the mother at the bottom, that slimy looking stuff. And so I kept fermenting that until I had a legitimate SCOBY, and now I got a SCOBY hotel. It looks like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man.
You can candy it as well. In the Philippines, they candy the SCOBY and you can eat it. Yeah, they add sugar, y lo van reduciendo, and it's like eating candy.
I gotta try that because I've been trying to do everything with SCOBYs, and the only thing that I really found it useful was for seasoning my cast irons. I turned it super hot and I put it on a fork and I kept pushing the oil around, and that SCOBY wouldn't burn, and it made a nice season on my cast irons. I don't know, maybe that's a new product.
Hey, one of you guys should gift me a SCOBY so I can make my own kombucha, man.
You gotta get into the booch, man.
Because I don't got SCOBY. I'm all about the booch. I'm boochy over here, man.
What's that?
I need some booch in my life.
Boochies.
I can give you one, Joe. I have a couple. But it's a whole process. It's like having plants. You gotta take care of them.
I'll take care of it. I've seen people with their buchas, and I'm like, I want to get some bucha going on, man.
It's fun. It's fun to experiment with, and
it happened.
And you know, another combination that I found that was pretty good was jasmine tea and gin. You don't even have to add any sweetener to it.
Jasmine tea and gin? That sounds amazing. I mean, teas and gin have a marriage in heaven. They do really, really well together.
I enjoyed that one, and I was surprised that it didn't need any sugar. And then we just planted 5 coffee trees and 5 cacao trees, so in about 5 years we'll be able to make our own.
Your very limited chocolate bars, sell them for $1,000. You only make 10 off that bar.
Exactly, dude.
Seriously.
Well, that's the going rate for Panamanian cacao, isn't it? You can buy Hershey's for $1.50 and then buy Oro Panameño for $8. It's like, come on.
Oh, jeez.
That shit's rough, man.
No, I mean, the thing is, there's not a lot of it also. That's
true.
I mean, everybody thinks that Boca del Toro is jam-packed with chocolate, but it's not like other countries like Ecuador. Ecuador, it's a main produce, you know what I mean? Like here, it's not that. Back in the day, there was a big production here made it. Hershey's had a plantation out in Gamboa.
Huge.
And it's actually called the plantation route or whatever. But it was actually
Hershey's had a plantation in Gamboa.
There's a huge finca there that grew cacao.
No idea.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That's crazy. Because I remember seeing a documentary or a short film or something about a Hershey's plantation factory or something in Cuba and the impact that had on the society or the community that worked there. And I was like, okay, Hershey's in Cuba, but I had no idea Hershey's had a touch pan.
They buy chocolate everywhere. Same thing with coffee. Same thing with bananas. I mean, they buy it from everywhere. Wherever there is, they're buying or whatnot. Cacao now is there's other countries that do it 10 times, 20 times bigger than here. So here, what people have gone to is just creating small farm chocolate bars, etc., cocoa powder, selling it in Europe. I think some parts of the States, but it's a very, very small market.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, we got 5.
I tried one that had like culantro in it. That was
Well, we definitely have to put hot peppers in it. We got 5
For
minutes
sure.
left. I want to put up the contact info because I want you to pimp the restaurant to the 4 people who are still signed on. So, Robby, hit us with your Instagram handles. Tell the people how to order, what number to call, what can they do to get some Intimo love.
So for Intimo deliveries, like we said before, it's from Tuesday to Sundays. If you want anything on Monday or Tuesday, let us know 48 hours prior. And you can contact us at 388-1365, or you can DM us on Instagram, and we'll contact you and get right back to you. And the menu's on the Instagram account, so you can check that out. And the website's being launched this week, and you can check that out from there as well.
Beautiful. All right, any last words of wisdom for the drinkologist? It's like, hey, tomorrow start your new day and try this drink. What do you have for us? What do we need to try tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think, like I said, the biggest one is trying to get into the whole making your simple syrups. That's the best part. I mean, it's super easy. You can make simple syrups out of teas, different fruits that are in whatchamacallit, that are in live and whatever's in the market right now. So like right now you got watermelons. It's a fresh fruit. You can play with gin. You got a bunch of different stuff that you can play with. Anything, like, let's say if you want to do papaya. A lot of people like papaya. You just have to make sure that you drain it. You just have to make sure that you drain it, because you don't want the little chunks as well. So that's really important. When you make your water, you got to make a water base to make it so
sure
that
it's filtered. Filter it.
Yeah, make sure it's filtered and make sure it's water based. You can make it with coffee as well. The only thing is you got to be watch out with how much coffee you're going to make, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a lot of you don't want that high caffeine kick with the alcohol or whatnot. It's going to, like drinking 2 Red Bulls at the same time or whatnot. So you got to
True that, man.
Because a lot of people tell me they do coffee syrups, and then they're like, "Well, I was pretty jacked." So you gotta watch out with that. And if you can find, it's hard to find, but if you can find decaf and you want to make a coffee syrup, go with decaf.
Yes, I will.
It is dangerous. It gets dangerous once you start playing with the whole Four Loko.
The Four Loko and
I don't know if
Four
anybody
Loko
knows,
and
but
moonshine.
Four Loko 10 years ago, a lot of people passed. A lot of kids actually. It was dangerous. There was a lot of caffeine plus a mix of alcohol, and it was crazy.
Guarana and all that stuff in there.
But yeah, simple syrups is the way to go. And then after that, trying to get the balance with the lemon juice. I tell everybody in Panama, everybody's a natural chichero. Everybody knows how to make their chicha. Everybody has their sugar ratio to lemon ratio, and it's pretty much the same thing. I've always told people everyone in Panama is a mixologist. Everybody knows how to make their own chicha. So
no doubt.
So just play with it. Just play with it.
Words to live by. Play with it. Robby, we can't thank you enough for being on the show and for answering all our questions. And we really hope that that people will hit you guys up, because we want, when the new normal, when this craziness is over, we want to go and hang out with you and party like we used to party.
No doubt, man. Hey, for sure, man. Shout out to you, man, and Chombolin as well. And Chombolin as well. Tell them that, put them in their place, man. Those guys are being
Drop the hammer.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for the invite.
You guys rock.
It was fun talking to you guys. All good. Love you guys a lot, and I hope you guys keep on doing this, and we can be on the show again.
Absolutely. We'll have Chombolin on next time. We make him put him on the hot plate.
Sounds good,
right.
my
All right, thanks, Robby.
Love you guys.
too,
Take
brother.
care.
Peace out, man.
Bye-bye.
What's up, brother? Take care.